Hey, I'm Kawhi Leonard's Laugh, and this is a full walkthrough on how to get the Iskaara Trader's Ottuk mount. This is a pretty easy Dragonflight mount to get. You just have to get 2 neck pieces that drop off bosses from the Vault of the Incarnates raid. The vendor that sells this is called Ottuk, and they are in Azure Span, located here. He also sells a dungeon version of this mount, which I have a video for, which I've linked down below in the description. The neck pieces drop on all difficulties, so LFR through Mythic. It doesn't matter which version of the neck you have. In this video, you're seeing I have a Mythic version and a Heroic version. I can still buy them out. The raid we're going into is located on the far east side of Thaldraszus in Dragonflight, and in this video, I'm doing this on Mythic. So when you first get into the raid, there are 5 dragons that you need to talk to, and then once you've talked to all of them, you're going to talk to Khadgar in the center of the room. There will be a 2-minute assault that starts, and you can pick one of the 5 dragons to ride during that assault. They all have different abilities. I've only ever done the blue one, so I'm just going to do that for this video, but feel free to try the other ones and see if you like them more. But during this assault, your dragon will be flying around this first part of the raid, and you have 2 damaging abilities on your 1 and 2. Those abilities you should focus on the fire elemental called Volcanius in the center of the room. The reason for that is because he has a fire barrier preventing you from entering the first boss room. It's okay if you don't kill him during this assault. You'll see I also don't. You can just kill him afterwards on foot. There are other adds you can throw your abilities onto, but you can skip all of them, so it doesn't really make much sense to do that. If you want, you can also just AFK for 2 minutes. That also works. After those 2 minutes, you'll be gently dropped onto the ground where you can start running towards either Volcanius or the first boss, depending on what you need to do. As I said, and as you'll see, you can skip all the trash and you just go straight to Volcanius and then the first boss. While I'm heading over there, I'm just going to do a couple of housekeeping things I do in all my mount run videos. This video was recorded on Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 in patch 12.0.1.66337 of Midnight. It's about 2 weeks into the expansion, so Season 1 has not yet started. I'm a level 90 Fury Warrior with a 234 item level, so this is like World Quests, Dungeon, Heroic, Mythic, 0 level gear. You can definitely do this at a lower item level. I don't know for sure what that item level is. I'd recommend just going in on your class and seeing how you fare. There's a few nice things with this mount. The first, like I said at the beginning, is that the necks drop on all difficulties, and you can actually run all 4 difficulties on 1 character every week. They don't share a lockout, so you can start on LFR. If you don't get the necks, you can do normal, and then you can go to Heroic and then Mythic. The second nice thing is that Dragonflight raids now have legacy loot, meaning they drop a lot more loot from bosses. These are not rare necks by any means, so you'll probably get this within the first 4 runs that you do. And if you don't, you're just kind of unlucky. Just like all my other mount run videos, I will keep my map open throughout the entirety of it, just in case if you're new here, never been here before, you have a better sense of direction, and this raid is one of those ones where it is kind of easy to get lost. As you can see, I'm skipping all of the trash here. Depending on how they're patrolling, you might be pulling some of them. They're not that hard to kill, so if you do pull them, just nuke them down really quick. But we're about to head into the first boss room, which is Eranog. None of the bosses, except for one in this raid, really have any mechanics that matter. I'm still going to go over them anyway, just because I need to fill some time and I don't want this to be an awkward silence video, but also just in case maybe you're lower geared and you do have to deal with mechanics, or maybe you're just curious. So for this guy, he mostly has fire abilities. Depending on how fast you kill him down, you may or may not see all of them. I only saw a couple of them. The first one is Incinerating Roar, which he's going to do here shortly. This is just it was a raid-wide AoE that leaves a dot on you. Doesn't do that much damage. Flame Rift, as you're seeing now, puts a circle on you and then a flame will spawn underneath me. This on Mythic will also spawn an ad. On the other difficulties, it won't. And I'm going to stand in all the mechanics during this video just because I want to show you that most of this stuff, if not all of it, doesn't do much damage. Obviously, if you're doing this yourself, don't stand in stuff, but I just want to show you it's not that difficult. Next, we're going to head over to the Elemental Conclave. This is the left door that we're going to go into. You don't have to go this way. The other boss that we have to kill is on the far right. So if you want to go that way first, you can do that as well. I'm just going to go left to right. This is another section where you can skip all of the trash. The left side, to me at least, looked like it had an invisible wall and you couldn't get on it, but if you just jump on it, you'll be fine. One of the things I really like about this raid in particular is that you can skip most of the trash, because I feel like for a lot of older raids, everything is so grouped up close together, and even if you're like multiple expansions higher of a level than this stuff, it still will pull, and it's just, not that it's annoying or hard, I guess, but it is kind of tedious to spend a couple of seconds killing the stuff that doesn't matter. This guy at the top here is Breakus, and you do have to kill him because he blocks the doorway. Once you do kill him, he's going to open up the door so you can continue on to the next section. And the trash that we're going to hit up here shortly is just before the boss. You can pull it now if you'd like. They do pull once you start pulling the trash, or I guess the spawns of the boss we're about to get into. Up to you. I prefer just to pull them, let them come to me once I pull the first set of trash, because I'm going to be waiting for the stuff to spawn anyway. So I may as well just have them to kill instead of stopping specifically for them. But for the for the Primal Council boss here, before you start the boss, there's going to be 4 elementals that spawn. There's a fire, ice, wind, fire, ice, earth, and wind elementals in that order. There's a little bit of RP in between them, and as you're seeing, the trash beforehand pulls. Once the 4 elementals have been killed, there's a little bit more RP as the bosses jump down onto the platform, and then you start the boss fight. For the Primal Council, they do not share a health pool. I'm not entirely sure what happens if they don't die at the same time. Anytime there's a council fight, I'll always just damage them so they die around the same time. There's a lot going on here and a lot of casts especially, so just interrupt what you can, especially if it's damaging you. As you can see, I'm not taking a whole lot of damage from them, so if you're around my item level, you should be fine. Conductive mark is a blue circle that gets put around you. This is just a stacking dot. If you get close to one of the pillars spawned by Opal Fang, it'll get rid of that for you. The Ember boss does a Meteor Axe, which puts an orange circle around you that will drop a fire puddle underneath you. As I said, I'm just going to stand in it to show you that there's not really a whole lot of damage going out, at least at my item level. But if you're doing this yourself, especially if you're lower item level, just don't stand in that. Once you're done with that boss, you're going to make your way back the way that you came, and we're just going to take a right out of this room to the door that's now opened, and we're going to head towards the next boss, the first one that drops one of the necks that we need. This will be the Eye of the Vengeful Hurricane neck that we're going to get off of Dathea. Heading towards this boss, once again, we can skip all of the trash. There's just going to be one dude at the end we got to kill. I'm not sure if anybody here actually played Dragonflight. I'm sure many people did, but it was an expansion that I started playing, but I was already kind of burnt out on the game, so I took a break maybe a couple months afterwards, and then I came back and just completely fell in love again with the game, and I've been playing ever since. I might talk about that a little bit more when there's more story time, but for now, this guy is Thondrosus, and when he dies, he's going to drop a little puddle. It's called an upward draft. You're going to click on that. That's going to take you up onto a platform, and then when you're on that platform, you're going to click on the downward draft, and that's going to take you towards the boss room. When you're in the boss room, there's going to be about 1 minute of RP before the boss becomes available. And then this boss is the big one. This is the one that you might struggle with, especially if you're a class that doesn't have a lot of mobility, like a warrior with charge or leap, mages with blink. I think rogues and druids might have something. But the big thing here is Zephyr Slam. So the swirlies that just spawn are going to spawn tornadoes. They're eventually going to teleport around the room, and just don't stand in the arrow because that'll knock you back. So you just saw I got knocked back by the boss. The boss did the Zephyr Slam ability. Every time the boss does that, you get a debuff that makes the knockback of that ability stronger. So eventually it's going to hit you so hard that you're going to get knocked off of the platforms. You have to kill the boss before that happens. As a warrior, as you're seeing, I'm just charging back in. I can also heroic leap. When the boss does this the cyclone ability, make sure not to run against that. I think the closer that you are, the stronger the pull is. So just don't do that. But if you don't have a lot of DPS and you don't have mobility like a warrior does, for example, this is where you're going to get stuck, and this is going to be the hardest boss for you. This will just get easier as midnight goes on, so if you can't do this just yet, try on a lower difficulty or just come back a little bit later in the expansion. As you just saw, the tornadoes teleported around the room. Again, like I said, don't stand in the path of where those arrows are, because that's the path it's going to go. It'll just knock you up, and same if you get hit by that cyclone, it'll just knock you up in the sky, which it won't kill you, it won't send you up high enough to kill you, but it will make it so that you might have to use one of your abilities, like a charge, for example, to get back down without taking damage. Once you're done that boss, you're going to find one of the downward drafts and head back to the main part of the raid. And actually, just really quick, one more thing I forgot about is for those Zephyr Slams on that boss, make sure that behind you isn't a tornado, because if you get knocked into one of those tornadoes, you'll just get knocked up as well. Once you're down here at the bottom, you're going to go to the far right. This is the vault approach entrance. And we're going to head over to the last boss, Terros, who's going to drop the last neck for us. This will be Terros' Captive Core. Again, neither of these two necks are very rare, so you should probably get this within the first few runs. I got mine one on Mythic and one Heroic. I ran 2 times and I got both necks. You're going to kill both of those Flame Guardians that spawn to open up the wall and head over to the next section of the raid. This map is a little bit confusing, and it took me a little bit of time to run around and figure out where exactly I'm going so I could show you, because at least when this was current content, I was always so confused as to where I had to go to get to which boss. But speaking back to when this was current content, I talked about it a little bit earlier. Dragonflight was so much fun when I came back, and by the end of it, I thought it was one of the best expansions ever, because up until Dragonflight, we were in a very grind-heavy era of WoW, and if you've heard me talk about this before, you're going to hear it again, sorry. When Legion came out, we got into this very grind-heavy era of WoW, where we're constantly farming. You have to be online all the time to get as much power or legendaries or Azerite or whatever it is that you're trying to do to maximize your character. You cannot log off, and if you do, you're wasting time. I hated that, and it made me really not enjoy pretty much Legion through Shadowlands, I think it was. And then Dragonflight came out, and suddenly we didn't have those. It was a lot of just do whatever you want. You can log in, you can not. When you're done your dailies, you can just log off. Like, sure, there's Mythic Plus and stuff if you want to get a little bit more geared, but it was the first time that in a while, at least since Warlords, where I felt like I didn't have to play the game, and I could just enjoy collecting or just doing casual content and having a good time. And that's why I love Dragonflight so much, and truly I do still miss it. I think War Within was fine, but Dragonflight was a much better expansion, so hopefully Midnight is a little bit more of that. So here we are at the last boss, Terros. He's going to have some ads in front of him he's going to kill, and then you can just charge right into him. If you're not close enough, he has a pretty large hitbox, but if you're not close enough to him, he's going to do an AoE that doesn't hurt that much, just stand close. That circle that you just saw around me is Rock Blast. It is a little bit of damage, not that much. With that, the boss will also usually do Awakened Earth, which will just spawn a pillar underneath you. Shortly after that, there is a yellow line that comes out called Concussive Slam that is targeting you and follows you where you go. This is used to get rid of the pillars, which doesn't really matter. And the only other mechanic is Shattering Impact, which will just spawn a yellow circle, and then a bunch of puddles will spawn on the ground. Again, I'm standing in it during this video for demonstrative purposes, but when you're actually doing this fight, just don't stand in that. But that's it. Hopefully you got both necks. If not, try again next week or try a different difficulty or another character. Like I said, Dathea is definitely the hardest part. That's why I personally prefer to go left first, because just get that out of the way. If you want to get out of the raid, you can either run back the way that you came, or you can jump off the platform and it will res you back in the main area. There will be a portal that you click on that will take you back to the entrance, and then you can just walk out. Good luck with this mount farm. Hopefully it doesn't take you too long. If you want to see how to get the dungeon version of this mount, the Ivory Trader's Ottuk, make sure to click the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching. I love you lots. Have a fantastic day. I'll talk at you soon.